Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping. People in China, India, and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern, using hot air from a candle, can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed, however, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the Space Shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Keshe has always said, the time for burning fuels is over, but did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tavakoli Keshe was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Keshe introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Keshe found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Keshe released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the Spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Keshe and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Keshe tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Keshe Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. plasma absorbs fields, and the drone uses radio fields for piloting. A natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Keshe explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Keshe Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Keshe Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Keshe Foundation Center in Nenove, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Keshe brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the peace treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Keshe, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GaN systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Keshe taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Keshe Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Keshe Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Keshe.
Mr. Keshe publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health and more. We are excited to release the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 432nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 12th, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be a host once again here in these Knowledge Seekers Workshops, and once again, we are fortunate to be joined by Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation and Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin today's workshop?
Yes, good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute programs and series of teachings. We welcome you back to another, what I call adventurous teaching. As usual, we do not know where we start and we do not know where we finish by the end of the teaching. This is an open-ended teaching cycle. It would not finish. As long as the man exists, there is always understanding of the knowledge of the Creator. In past few weeks, I deliberately started teaching in a different direction and in a different way, especially the past 3-4 teachings. And there was a reason for it, that to open up a new line of understanding, but deeper understanding of what was taught past 10, 12 years. Some of the knowledge seekers understood and they have managed to grasp the concept of the creation. And it's interesting to see how the next steps build up. How we'll endeavor to take flight. How do we looking to understand the next steps in a flight system? In our laboratory, we are just about to complete the first space reactors completed within the next day or two. But what is interesting for me is not to put these reactors in the enhancement unit, but to assemble these reactors in the space of the lab and see we can create the spacecraft without the craft. The reason for this is very simple. The material we have created as a spaceship is made of carbon and hydrogen. It's very vulnerable to the diversity of the fields of the universe. What happened if we lose the containment? But we have our reactors designed and positioned in a specific way that they will hold. Most probably, the reactors themselves go through the same process, but the fields they have created will maintain position and stability. As I said to some of the knowledge seekers who work with us closely with development and they're aware, we test reactors before we place them. When you look at the enhancement unit in LENS, we created a replication of it in the lab without the physical material of the structure. We are endeavoring to do the same in the next few days, which means we endeavor to create plasma fields without containment. The way Earth works, the way the sun works, it'll be an adventure. If our team manages to complete, I was told yesterday, the first systems are ready to be tested in the environment of laboratory without the enhancement units, and we measure the fields. We have equipment within our labs which were built some 10, 15 years ago by the Swiss scientists for us. If you remember, the one we used for 129 measurements of the field. Then we enter the true space molecule technology.
non-tangible physicality, but existence within the field forces of the universe. As our team are putting the last reactors and loading systems and everything else together in the next few days, and we start the first test 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the enhancement unit testing, and we'll see the pitfalls and the things we have to complete, would we achieve the ultimate goal? The facilities we have and we have created allows us to create these, what we call flight system, as you call it, in the present technology aircraft hangars of the airports, but within the labs of the Keshe Foundation, creating the condition of the flight without boundary, creating condition of the pressures of the control without the boundary. What would be the ultimate outcome? When we go into testing these from next week on, to prepare to install them in the enhancement units coming up, would we achieve what we want to achieve before even we reach the target of testing? The process is not to land on the moon. The process is to achieve the strength of understanding of the new dimension. We test and we learn. But the whole idea is we have introduced a new method of flight. We have brought forward a new concept. We have brought the concept of the flight motion the way it's done in the universe. There are no control panels. There are no landing gears. There are no kitchens and there are no toilets and there are no many things in it. But it might not work. It might not fly. But we bring the new concepts of flight into game that the others try to strive to achieve. The working of it is in the dimension of the soul of the man and not in the dimension of physicality of the man. The strength of it comes out of the understanding of the process of what we call interaction of the fields. What is important for us is to understand the teachings, is to understand the teachings of the creation and the created, to understand the process of what we call elevation of the soul of the man. We see the elevation of the soul of physicality of the man. We will see in these processes where many defects within the body of the man will be corrected by the wishes of the soul and soul of physicality. The new enhancement flight system, as we've seen in the intro of today, is a breakthrough. In so many ways, we are used to be in something to be carried to go forward. This time, we are within the fields that we become that containment, where we want to move it to. We are used to get into a car or an aircraft or a rocket to go from A to B. What about when that rocket becomes us? When the aircraft becomes us? We become the carrier of our soul. We decide the destination. We decide the position and position. We have entered the true flight space technology as of this week. Our team tells us some 50 reactors are ready to be tested by next few days. The flight system, the control is all done, ready to go. When we go through the testing, would we feel it when we enter the environment? We will replicate the position and setting up of these reactors in the labs before installing it, because there is nothing outside. There is no control system. We don't have a countdown. We don't have that. We're going to fly this minute. Is when the soul of the pilot matches the soul of the system, and matches with the soul of the control. And then we'll see the bright light. Then we see the flight system. I've been through these systems many times. I have flown across the universe with these systems. I know it works. I'm a passenger of the universe. Now we have to teach them. Your concrete blocks, your stainless steel aircrafts will stand no time in the fields of the universe. You fall off into the depths of the oceans of the fields of the universe when you hit a plasma condition that matches the structure of your material. And this peak-fall goes every 100 kilometers or every meter in space. Mankind has to learn the new method of travel without boundary, without what I call position and position in where the matter state exists. Mankind has to learn with a new space technology which we put forward that he travels with the dimension of the soul of the man and not with the physicality of the man. In the next few weeks, we will see a new era in what we call for the man to conquer the space, and that space is a space of his own soul. That within it, we'll find the space of the universe to travel with. Many, many times. Many, many times. I have brought this in different ways of teaching, but now you have to face it. It's there. Technology is developed and is on the table for many of you to develop it further, to understand more knowledge of the creation, to understand more about the space travel in the dimension of the fields and not in the dimension of matter. In so many ways, mankind comes and has come to a new era in space travel. We do not need governments, and we do not need administrations. We do not need military forces, and we do not need what we call astronauts to be trained for years ahead. You lived with that soul. You have trained that soul. So you are the captain. It's you who will decide the position and dimension of the field. My advice has been to our especially testing team, which are putting these together, do not enter the zone. Do not enter to see how it feels. Do not enter to see how it will interact. But allow it to be there. A butterfly flying in that zone can fly the system if its soul matches the soul of the system. You remember in the teachings, I always said, when you look from a distance, you don't still see the frock of a king or a president or a farmer or a dog. They're all shining stars. In a way, we have entered that dimension of understanding the knowledge of the creation that in so many ways we have to come to understand that man, without choosing, but by the grace of the Creator, has entered into the knowledge of the creation on a fast track. And in that process, we have taught enough. And we will see the outcome. We will see the setting up of the first enhancement unit for flight by literally walking into it. We are not aware of it till we enter it. And then we come to the position to be start testing. What strange will be for many of you will be that these flight systems are tested in enclosed environments, in the exhibition center, in Arizona Center, within the center. Then you say, how is it going to fly? We have no opening on the roofs. We have no opening in the ceilings of the centers. Ask the question. Then you understand. Did your body move out of the bed last night when you traveled the spaces of the souls and fields of the universe? When you had a chat with your mother or father who died years ago? Did you need to move the body? Or you did the trip, had a chat, had a drink with mom, had a joke with dad, and maybe attended a party with them and came back. The physicality is still dead on the bed. Now you understand the implication and application of the new space technology. Do we need to fly the system? Or would you come back and tell us that I went there, seen that, come back, it was as I dreamt? But now this is not the dream, it's the reality, because you can choose between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man where you want to be. When you had a dream that you were in deep space, or you had a dream you were walking on the moon, did you see yourself with a space monkey suit of NASA? When you swim in your dreams the depths of the oceans, do you see yourself wearing and being in what I call the monkey suits of diving suits? The soul travels and takes the condition of the time, place, and position. The new knowledge of space technology will break through in a big way by many of your knowledge seekers. What we show will be the beginning of much more research and development to be done. Much more development to come in by the world scientists and knowledge seekers. World scientists will become knowledge seekers and will see the change and development. As I said, some of you online listening, you know who you are. When you were recommended by the NASA scientists to listen to the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, that's where the future space technology is. Where Chinese scientists already are working and trying to develop the knowledge and the physicality of the spaceship of the Keshe Foundation, where they ask us, can you give us the fuel combination? We've done the rest. In so many ways, the new space technology has started. And in a big way and a small way, in different dimensions, we have seen the totality of the change. We have entered the dimension of the rules and the rules of engagement of the space technology. It is for us to understand it more. It is for us to be able to expand the knowledge of the creation. The test, which will be carried out in the Keshe Foundation laboratories in the next few days and weeks, is not looking to fly and you see the light in the sky. But maybe that light in the sky is transportation of your soul across this planet, going from here to New York to see your brother, and we see that light moving. How many of us will come to see what we call bright light in the skies, where always is soul of someone traveling to somewhere else? How many times we have seen these, what we call ball of lights traveling? Now, maybe for the first time, we understand we saw a soul in transportation. We saw and we have seen it, but we didn't understand it. Now we understand. Now we see that the knowledge of the man has come to the point to understand the space travel is true. And then till the next cycle of the understanding, where the man will learn another cycle of transportation and transmutation in the dimension of higher order than what we teach you today. Man is not ready for that cycle yet. In a way, the whole of universe is not ready for that next step up. The knowledge of creation, the knowledge of the structure of the travel, the spaces of this universe and universe is literally the first step in the knowledge of the travel across the fields of the totality of the created animal. I brought this subject up last week in a very soft way, that if this universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? And if this universe is expanding, what is expanding into? Then we understand there is more beyond. And that knowledge to expand, to cross that knowledge of the travel in the dimension of the universe to the next level will take much longer for man and the citizens of this universe to understand. But there is another level beyond that contains this universe within. The creation of the universe, as we call it, to come to be the creator itself, is contained within the larger structure of the life, with the dimensions that, when it reduces in strength, becomes the strength field of our creator, where there is above the creation and the create, the process of the creation. Then it goes back to the origin question. The origin of magnetic fields. That its interaction has led to what we call God, the creator. That itself is part of the bigger process. How can you be loved if you don't have a lover? How can you be created if there is no creator for you? Who created our creator, what we call the creator? Then we understand the whole process of the creation is never ending. And now, through this process of understanding, we learn to touch the very first field of strength beyond the dimension of the matter state and tangibility of the man. Then, as I always draw, in this spiral of knowledge, in this spiral of life, we just entered a new cycle. If this is the totality of the spiral of the creation, including what we call the universe, with the present knowledge we give you, you might be at this level. We need more knowledge to be able to cross our universe, and then to understand more knowledge to be able to work within the totality of the creation, which itself becomes the creator of all. But today we have started. This week we have started to enter that process. To enter to understand the basics. To enter to understand the depths of the lack of understanding of the totality of the understanding the process of the creation. The interesting point will be when you enter the what we call the fields of enhancement unit with your physicality and your soul. To what extent has your soul has developed, that in which point you enter the position and the cycle of the creation and the universe. You could be a peasant on the mountains of Himalaya, and with the first entry, you reach this. And you could be a king, and you enter the system, and you're not even reached point of start. It does not go by position and possession. It goes by devotion and sincerity and what I call the love of Creator. Then the king will envy the peasant. Then those who reach the higher points will come back and tell us the stories that to us will be unbelievable. But it's the truth that we have to accept. How much more we have to do to reach that point? How much are we devoted to confirmation and completion of this process? And then how much we are committed to bring that change in within us. And we get tested on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on every minute. I've been tested to my limit in past 6-8 weeks by knowledge seekers. And I still stand firm, understanding that the foundation and change is more important. Some peasant thinking men who think they are in position and control. But we have to see them. We have to understand them. We have to see what they are made of. There are knowledge seekers around amongst you who are the most abusive people to the whole of the foundation work. But you worship them. It was for me to be tested to the ultimate goal, to understand how much I've understood from the human race. Not for them. They were tested and failed miserably, but it's for them to find the position and the time. But it was good because we saw new face. We saw what we need to correct, to elevate for these souls to understand more. For me to understand what I've missed in understanding of the work of this humanity. Always said, you can always dress a monkey in the clothes of a lady, but you never make a lady out of a monkey. You have to understand what is the position and the strength of your soul. When you enter these systems, when you exit the systems, what did you take in and what did you bring out? You go with a wish, I have a cancer, I don't want to have it. But you come out with the worst cancer because you wanted. The truth cannot be hidden from your physicality and your body. You want to die. You see the death as a solution to your misery. And soul of physicality cannot be overruled by the soul of the man. The soul of the man is a provider. It's the soul of physicality who has to understand. You walk into the systems with a body filled with pain and sorrow and all sorts of problems, and you walk out, man with none. Because
kann das sein, dass wir mit Schmerzen und Problemen reingehen und ohne irgendwelche Probleme wieder rausgehen?
We have a translation opening. Please close it.
Yes, just a second, Mr. Keshe. I made a mistake here. Okay, should be okay there now.
Thank you very much. We have to understand this process of change. We have this process, the process of understanding the totality. We still have this problem, Rick. We have to understand we cannot lie to our physical soul. It's no use going into a system with one tumor and coming out with 10, which speeds up the end of the dimension of physicality. I went in there to have none. But in fact, that was my thoughts of what I want to explain. But in reality, I want to die faster because I want to be a passenger in the other side. I don't want to take this physical body with me. Then understand when you go into this new flight system, go with not lying to yourself and wishing something else. Because when you come out, you understand your true wish, not what you wanted to show as is your wish. I made man in the image of myself. I cannot lie to his physicality. How can man do? I explained this to a clergy sometimes ago. Maybe now you might be able to understand. In every physical body, there is a defect. In every physical body, there is a point, the source of a cancer that if you let it grow, can create more problems. The embodiment of the creator, which includes the man, has been a cancer in the process of the creation. Do you take the cancer out and let it grow bigger? Or do you find a remedy for the cancer to find a space and position that does not become cancer? And this is what the Creator has decided about the cancer of man in the cycle of the creation, that this process of killing, this process of destruction will not expand to the rest of the universe. And this is why the present teachings are going on, the present enlightenment going on, and not teaching. That man comes to understand he is a cancer in the process, in the embodiment of the creation and the Creator, by his ways of destruction, by his ways of mutilation, by his ways of greed. And he needed. The Creator can destroy this planet with a wish. But, as we said, we don't destroy. It will not be got rid of. You have to find a solution, a permanent solution, that the cancer does not grow. And it becomes a useful part of the body of the man. The way we see evolutionary cancer in the body of the man. Because the data, the information is needed, that it does not repeat in the next and allows the evolution. The whole purpose of these teachings is to get rid of this cancer of the body of the man within the structure of the universe by methods of killing and destruction, containment, and now the new understanding. In the coming time, in the coming weeks, when you see the enhancement setups in Arizona, in Tehran, in Austria, they're all within buildings. These are the beds you enter. And when you enter the bed, you fall asleep. The body stays, and within the enhancement centers, the soul finds the path of its freedom. You do not need to fly. You need to understand what was your wish when you entered the flight system. The true wish, and not, I'm going in there to see, oh, I have to be in New York with my lover. You end up in New York with your lover, and they say the guy disappeared. But in your heart, the physicality is here, but the soul and the nation of physicality in New York. You cannot lie to these systems. And you have to find these systems are set to the minimum truth threshold, which means you cannot lie. You walk in and nothing happens, says, oh, it doesn't happen, it's just there. Because you lied to yourself when you entered. When we tested one of these systems for the very first time, a few months ago, we saw the change in the evolution of the soul and physicality within microseconds. Our knowledge seekers who went with it are amongst you and listening. The system went to find the peace, the what we call balance between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality, which control within the heart. and it tunes again, and it tunes again, and it tunes again. And if it does not find a balance, it stops. But if it tunes and finds the position of the balance where the soul of physicality and the soul of the man are in line of the truth to themselves in work, man will be remedied from the troubles of the universe. Man will enter the dimension of seeing what he entered to see, and it was the true wish. I watched when the knowledge seekers went through this process. I stood outside and I watched the physicality and the soul. You are the knowledge seekers amongst you who've been through it. You feel the forces of the creation before you enter the environment of the system. We are not just going for a flight system that will be there. We have simply, in a very simple way, have tested the systems. I hope many of you will find pleasure when you enter the dimensions of the fields of the new space travel, where you shall never lose your spacecraft, where your spacecraft will not dissolve and evolve in different fields of strength, where you are the star, where you are the soul of the travel. And it's you who decides, today when I go to sleep, I want to learn to see my grandpa today, and then tomorrow I want to go for a dinner with a cousin in another point and destination. In a way, you go to a travel agent and you buy a destination ticket. In a way, when you go to sleep, you have never understood that you can destine your travel before you sleep. I'm going to sleep to go to grandpa, to have a dinner and come back. Now we give you that opportunity. We give you that sense that you learn, that you do not need to. In a way, I'm going to a restaurant to have a nice steak, but you can have the image of steak, but no animal shall be killed. You get the feeling of what you want, but no one will be touched. And gradually, even you don't feel the desire to have that steak, but you have, you will, and you go. And this way, no man shall die hungry. No man shall sleep hungry. Today, 15% plus of the children in the United States of America go to sleep hungry, according to the statistics of the United Nations. And 3 to 5% in Africa, children go to sleep hungry. Would we teach this to the American children, that their numbers dwindles to the number of the Africans, that they can dream to go to the most beautiful restaurant or to have what they wish, and they receive it. They receive the energy, they receive the nourishment, they receive the elevation of the soul, but no one shall be killed. No, the grain which made the bone, and no, the burger which the animal had to be killed. In reality, thanks to many knowledge seekers and non-knowledge seekers who are working in the background to bring this technology forth, will bring the change for you. The change is not to come, the change is here. It's for you to come to see. It's for you to come to understand. It's for you to come to extend the knowledge. As you call it, this is an open patent. Patent of the creation. Patent of the creator. Patent of the knowledge of the creation to live and to be part of the living souls of this planet and beyond. Maybe in the next few days, maybe by next teaching, maybe by 6th of June, you will see the show. Many of you will not feel a thing, but many of you will come to see the dream you dreamt. They call it the American dream. We call it the dream of the creation. The dream which comes true instantaneously if you are correct with conduct. The conduct of the wish of the soul and the soul of physicality of the man. Don't go in the system and say, I went with 1 tumor and I came out with 10. Because you lied, you want to see the end of this physicality. It's going through too much torture. I don't want to be there. And some of you go with 10 tumors and come out because your purpose was to enjoy the life and not the tumors which accidentally came on your path. You were there to serve your soul, to serve the soul of the others, and then you find the elevation in the totality. Then, in the near future, we create the condition of the satellites, as you call it, like the moons, that surround this planet and keep that continuous field that all souls within this dimension will be satisfied to be nourished in all dimensions, that no lion shall king and neither no man shall be king. These are not dreams. The systems are present, produced, and sits with the beautiful city of Linz in Austria. Even if you open it, you will not understand it. We have hidden the knowledge of the universe within the systems, and no man will be able to replicate it without knowledge given truly by the way it has to be, and it is. Even those who produce it will not understand it. As I said, once the units released by the Keshe Foundation, they carry my soul. Without it, you have no soul to buy. So no one can copy. It does not matter how well you try. We had an interesting meeting this week by the people who came from South America, wanting to discuss about what we call opening an institute for Keshe Foundation in Brazil. And we found out by their own talk and what we understood, they were from the people who are involved in medbeds. They came to see if they can instill technology on the cover of wanting to help, to see why the system does not work truly. And they're involved in it. What they call scientific theft. What do you call industrial theft? Our knowledge does not need to be stolen from. It's given freely. You have to understand it. So if the method really worked, they were not there to steal more because they know it does not work. We understand the knowledge belongs to you as knowledge seekers. But you have to understand that you have to be correct in the conduct of the use, in the conduct of the application. In the coming weeks, we more and more will concentrate on the flight system for you to understand. But you have to understand what is about to come, what is about to reach you in the process of understanding by entering these new systems. Many souls travel the span of the universe. And those who fail to understand the process travel with the spaceship. Those who come from the universe will bring you the spaceship. Those who go from Earth understand the dimension of the travel in the dimension of the Creator. Then you see those who sit in spaceships, envy those who come from Earth, that they understood the true meaning of travel and not again contained back from the back of a donkey to a car to a spaceship. We have given you the freedom of your soul. We have given you the freedom of the universe. There shall be no cows, there shall be no chicken on Mars, the Moon, and beyond in the galaxies. How are you going to feed yourself? So now you understand, you have to go through the process which is set for us to teach you to understand the elevation of the soul of the man that absorbs the energy from higher order to feed the dimension of the soul of the physicality, that when it wants to manifest itself in a matter state or a visible condition, it can reduce its strength to dimension of the space, time, and position. Then you'll be human in the body of the man. To me, a man from Mars to another being, and to be able to be seen in another dimension from a distance, to be citizens of another position of time. Fortunately, I had the pleasure to witness this in the past few days. How a number of people look at one and have totally different perception of what they have seen of the same. As you say, it was a hair-raising experience. But each one was taking a knowledge according to their understanding from the soul. And I understood. And it was easily understood by those who were present. In a way, mankind has entered to understand the process of life of Mitra. The cycle of the children of Mitra will go through this process, and with it, they shall not kill. They shall not destroy another life, and they will pass this information and the knowledge to the new children of the man, what we call the children of Mitra. And then we'll see the new cycle to begin. We still fight, we still struggle, we still hustle, we still produce for the knowledge to be shared with the governments and with the others, because they have to change within. Not us to do magics, but them by magic to become and then change. We strip the body from the true intention just by through process of the elevation of the soul. The physicality and its pitfalls will show. I hope many of you today understand what is about to come. I hope many of you will understand the process of what has come for you to understand what is to be, for you to be ready for the space flights, as the what are called primitive systems have already been developed, manufactured, and is about to be tested, not to fly across the spans of this planet, but to allow you to decide where you want to fly beyond this planet. Many of you, if you understand the process, will bring new knowledge. And my advice to all of you is, when you get someone who's been through the process and tells you what they have experienced, respect it. Because ridiculing shows your lack of understanding the process, not that they don't speak the truth. Always remember, as I've made time I've said, about the guy who went to Moscow and says, they have a bird which is made of iron and steel, and he flies. Months later, he appeared in Tehran. Everybody understood that they were not educated, that the man was not alive. We have to understand what comes with the new knowledge, embrace it, record it, and then find out, research it, that it happened. And can we replicate it? What was the reason for this experience? What was and how it was created? When you see your mother who died 20 years ago and she says she has a pain in her stomach or she has a pain in her arm, Is this the physical pain of her, or is telling you that you have a problem in your kidney or in your arm, or somebody has? And she knows. She's the reflection in the mirror of her pain, because she has no physical dimension to suffer pain. Then we understand to interpret it. We understand how to interpret. We understand how the interpretation has to have a meaning by ourselves, not to be explained by the others. This is not a dream that we bring a dream explainer to explain to us what the dream means. We have to understand the process. We have to understand the elevation that has brought us to this knowledge. What can we do with it? What is the process of this knowledge? What needs to be understood to go to another level? My advice to knowledge seekers is very simple. Understand the motion of the travel. We still make the magnet systems. We still go for the generators. We still deliver whatever. But we have to keep busy. We have to find a way that the life of a physical life is fulfilled. It's you who have to find out how you want to fulfill the time of life, which will not be 60 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. It'll be the time of the life of the universe and the universe. Which factories are you going to work in? Which bread are you going to eat in another universe where there is no bread? Man has to learn the new dimension of existence. And in a way, in the computer world, we call it a sandbox. We give you a sandbox to test before you start using a program. Now, we give you the sandbox of the enhancement flight unit to test your skill and see if you are physicality in lens, and your uncle in Beijing is having dinner with you and calls your mother and says, he's with me having a dinner with me. But in fact, it's you who decides the point and the place of the manifestation. We are not in the dreamland. We are not talking about what could be done. It is done. The technology, the system for delivering it is built, is available, and with it will come the extension of the knowledge of the man. It'll be interesting how much you knowledge seekers will come to comprehend the totality, and how much you, as knowledge seekers, will come to understand the physicality. And I'm sure our teams are ready to take you for the flight of fancy in the dimensions, the realms of the soul of man. And please, wherever you go, come back, because we don't want to move a body out of the system till you decide to come back. Come back and take this physicality with you, or come back and move it out, but bring the knowledge to elevate it, and don't leave it behind. Our systems are not mortuaries, and our systems are not the beds for you to rest and to wake up when you want. I hope you understood the intro of today, and you understood the knowledge which followed the intro. In the intro, we taught and we showed you the way man has tried to fly for centuries. And with the teachings, we have shown you another dimension, further, much, much, much higher level than what you're seeing in the intro. That's the knowledge of the man, and this is the knowledge of the creation. You have to decide in which level you want to fly. The complexities of the universe, detached from physicality, or please book me a ticket on the spaceship. I want to go to moon on the 6th. We're traveling the souls in the dimension of the space travel in the true levels on the 6th of June. Your spaceship locked, chained to the floor. If you went to LITS in the design center, when we showed the first two enhancement units, and if you go to LITS and look underneath of the flight systems, or what we call the two enhancement systems, you will see pieces of wood in the corners extended, or extension to the floor. Those who are here, they can tell you that for the systems not to fly, we had to screw and add weight underneath the systems that they do not take off. And we had to remove them when we moved them out. And now they're so heavy that we don't even bother with it. But understand, with a new system, we don't need to shackle you down. The only things which shackle you not to go through the space travels with a new flight system is you and the correctness of the conduct of you to yourself. As the beautiful Arabic word says, we have told you everything. It's the final for you at your level of understanding. As they say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. This is what we have given you as a gift, as a barakat, as the giving. It's for you to understand what barakat you have received as a knowledge of the greed of the man in the dimension of physicality. The totality is given. It's for man to decipher the knowledge page by page. As I said, you read the 3 books. When you became the first knowledge seekers, you read the book 3-4 years later, and it has totally different meaning than you read the first time because you have more knowledge. And now read the first, second, and third book, and you see the knowledge of the travel of the universe has been hidden within the writing. And nothing is new. As we wrote the word of the Creator in the 3 books, in the knowledge of the science, and not in the theology of lies. You can test it. And maybe with it, you can prove the lies in the theology of the churches, the mosques, and the temples and synagogues. Because now we can see it. If you are and understand truly, you can have the Last Supper with Christ. Because the wish is there, and he's there to satisfy the wish of true man. Not mine, not yours. Thank you very much for today's knowledge sharing, and I hope you understand that the juggernaut has hit you all. How you're going to recover with it and from it depends on the level of your understanding and the knowledge of the creation. Thank you very much, Rick. You can go through it and come back and answer some method state levels of understanding.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again for another teaching. Let me get up my window here. Okay, we'll take a short break for a few minutes and be back for the second half of the 432nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 12th, 2022.
is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now, you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, welcome back to the 432nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 12th, 2022. And I believe we're ready to begin the second part of the show, where we usually have questions for Mr. Keshe. Is that how we'd like to proceed, Mr. Keshe?
As usual, we can't change the tradition, can we?
It's been pretty consistent for the last 431 Knowledge Seekers workshops, although you've switched it up a few times for us. Let me see here. As usual, I'll tell the attendees that they can raise their virtual hands, and then we can acknowledge you and allow the microphone to open.
We have 7 transcribers in the background, yeah?
Well, we have just, you mean the translators?
Translators, yeah.
We have 2 that are active right now for the German and Portuguese languages. So those rooms, Zoom rooms, you could say, are open for that, for people to listen in on those languages while they are directly translating into those particular languages. We were trying with the Spanish, but that didn't work out this time around. So that person will have to get approved or somehow change their software or something in order to go through for the Spanish. Maybe it'll work next time around. And we have a couple of other languages too that are ready, pretty much ready to begin. The Italian as well.
Yeah. Can you bring the head of the Keshe Foundation up? She's using a different ID and she always stays in the crowd in the background. The 2 ladies, Ruti and Ella, they're in the background monitor of them, both of them. They use different, what do you call it, ID numbers. I see them being somewhere.
Yeah, got that one. I'm not sure which one Ella would
comes
be
in
under.
different, what do you call it, different ID. But Ranglin is open there. Could you please bring it up? There are the two ladies
Yeah.
in the Keshe Foundation worldwide.
Yep, Lynn is in now, and
I'm sure Ella will come up if she wants to. We know which one it is, what name she enters.
Yeah, if she could put her hand up, then I could acknowledge her.
She has access to the board. She can come in anytime. But they want to stay, what do you call it, incognito, what do we call it?
Yes, right.
Okay, what is the question?
Perhaps her name is Louis. Louis Alberto. He or she has a hand up.
Okay.
And perhaps you can unmute, and if you have a question, Louis.
Or was it a mistake?
Not sure.
Or do we need a translator?
Louis, are you there? Okay, not getting a response yet. So we have a question from Variohead in YouTube. When is it possible to go into an enhancement unit, and is it for free?
It's not for free, that's for sure. People have paid a huge amount of funds to purchase these units in their centers, and people have paid 10 million to buy the flight system. And people pay a lot for different units of the Keshe Foundation, and belongs to them. Keshe Foundation, in collaboration with knowledge seekers, is setting up these systems. And now that we have gone into mass production, all the enhancement units which has been sold previously will be what we call forwarded to be delivered in the coming time. Now we have established a continuous production line. So it's just that we have what we call, unless we go for a massive expansion, there is a limit into how many units per week or per day we can produce. At the moment, we are trying to reach 1 a day and then increase it to about 30 a day. To meet 1,000 units. This will not happen until the end of this year because it's a lot of work involved in the background in setting up these. The physical structure is not that hard. It's made in China. The control, the understanding, the loading, and then tuning it, and the rest of it takes time.
I see in the Keshe Foundation store, they offer the Flight Enhancement Experience. It says starting in September 2022, you will be able to enjoy the flight experience in the new Flight Enhancement Spaceship units within and outside Earth's orbit using the new space plasma technology. Book your ticket now. And that is, 250,000 euros. So you have to be prepared to pay something quite dear in order to have that first experiences. Yes.
Yeah, there is something which is, while you're at it, you've been to the shop. Last week we announced that workshops in the Keshe Foundation Exhibition Center for the production of the what we call ganses, perfect ganses, by people who actually work within the Keshe Foundation manufacturing side. These are not the teachers from inside. Herbert is part of the Keshe Foundation and has been responsible for GANS production for years in Keshe Foundation. So the class is done by Herbert on the 11th of June. These are deep embedded knowledge which you learn and you can do it. We've seen some people have made a booking. Now we have entered the pottery this week. You can join the people who actually make, if you bought the cup of life or you bought the cup of sugar or the pressure, you have the master teaching you on the following week. I think it's on the 18th. It's already posted on the Keshe Foundation website. You can book. There's a very, very limited number of people for this workshop, maximum 10. And when you made your cups or your pots, you leave it and it'll be fired and done by the experts, and then it'll be posted to you. And you'll be taught how to do. The mixing of the gases is a procedure to it. It's not just mix and play. And then you will see there is one coming up for a sculpture, that to make sculptures which you can put as ornament in the house with different gases and what the effects will have. This was done one of the masters, one of the leaders I admire a lot in the Keshe Foundation. She's been solid backbone of our work in this. She's a sculptor. She will teach you how to make it, how to do it. A lot of work you see in the Keshe Foundation appears done, or you get things, is this lady behind it. I thank her for all the hard work. It was years studying about the rock behind our work in Linz. Literally, she's the mother of the foundation in the Linz. She does everything to keep everybody happy. And that will be the following week after that. And then we'll have the painting. The painter who will use the gases for that will be booked for the following week. But this week, we added the pottery. And I'm sure during the next week, you will see the sculpture and the painting. And then we have our own knowledge seekers. We introduce new, what we call dimension into what we call soft ornaments, right? That you can keep at home. You have a pain, you cuddle a teddy. The teddy is made by the Keshe Foundation. The knowledge seekers who have made especially mixtures by the Keshe Foundation to, in a way, to help. You feel sad, you cuddle a teddy, you cuddle a rabbit, and within it, we have hidden the new knowledge. We are trying to bring knowledge to be reachable and understood by as many as people as possible. And we have commissioned the first 100 of these, what they call soft ornaments. So you will see them in the next few weeks in the shop of the Keshe Foundation. And the master will teach you how to do it. And we try to expand the knowledge. And for sure, in the next few months, we will do a weekend of the space travel teaching. It will be for a world-leading scientist. And we put a fee for that 2 days training. We're working on it in the background. When we reach to it, for the weekend, it will be around about $10,000 to $20,000 for the elite scientists around the world who want to join it. It's not fixed yet, but sometimes we'll announce it when we decide to go ahead with it and complete it. The place will be just for about 10 to 15 scientists. And in those 2 days, you learn a lot about the art of the, what we call space technology, new space technology. And I hope this will take place in Tehran. And the process is very simple, that we teach you how to build space systems. And some of you who will attend that course will be requested to join the Keshe Foundation as a full-time members of the production line and the space testing. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here. We have Azar. Would you like to go ahead, Azar?
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning. It sounds you just woke up.
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I woke up actually. You know, Mr. Keshe, there's few things I don't know, because these days, I mean, I don't know if sometimes I feel like I really don't know anything, but maybe these are part of my gibberish mind is telling me something. Or sometimes I think when you see things about human behavior, you wonder, I mean, you don't know the answer. So I just say what I have to say. Maybe you know the answer. Maybe you can help. Maybe you think, I don't know the knowledge, because a lot of time I think to myself, God, I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. So you see, when we look at things, when I look at how God created us, sometimes I think, was it a mistake? And then I realize maybe it wasn't a mistake. Because if I came to this world and just all was just good and no killing, no hate, none of that, how would I understand love? So it wasn't a mistake that was created, because we had to understand. If we didn't know hate or anger or any of this, I wouldn't appreciate love.
Why do we need
So-
to know that side to know the other side? Doesn't make sense.
But if it wasn't originated first, how would we understand? If it was everything from love from the beginning, so was it a mistake then?
Is the mistake, or is the experience we have to learn from? When you fall in love, do you look at what is wrong in a person you fell in love with, or the entity, or whatever? Or you just look at the positive way and you build it? When it comes that you don't receive what you expect, you change it to hate, because you create expectation.
So, Mr.
You
Keshe,
know,
the reason where I'm going with this is this, because I feel now with all the things we learn, for example, I enjoy sitting by a lake. I enjoy sitting under the tree. I enjoy looking at the flower. I enjoy to be with the lover. So I learn all that. I enjoy physicality. Now I think the way I feel now, since we learned this, so it means that this physicality at one point has to end, and what we take from here, any part of the universe, with what you're teaching us, I can create a lake. I can create a house out of gold if I want to. If I can create a house.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How do you think you came to this point?
You mean like now?
To understand you enjoy a lake.
Because I
or you love
experienced
to be
it.
on the. So now you understand when I tell you we come here to experience, that we know what the experience is, that we can do things to stop it or prevent it or enhance it.
So that's what I'm talking about. So my feeling is, in the future, this planet is going to go, because there's not going to be any physicality. But what we take from here,
Who says
I can create.
We cannot go. We cannot go.
Because
it's
Mr. Keshe,
part of the operation.
I can go to another universe, create the same thing I have here, with what you're telling us.
So for you is not that, but it doesn't end just because you learn something. It might be a new beginning for you, but this journey has to be taken by many people.
Okay, so you mean the people who learn, they live and do it, but they won't.
You don't need to live. You experienced it. When you taste your lover, when you taste the loving process with your partner, you just get up and go. Oh, I learned it. That's it. Next one. You stay there.
But why this teaching? Why we learn? For example, what I learned or what you learn. How is it we cannot transfer it or give it to somebody else? Because
we do.
Keshe, let me tell you this story, because I feel, because I went through so much tumultuous emotion yesterday, because a patient come in, because I can wrap my head around these things. And then is an African-American father, and his son was coming to me once a month, and he hasn't been to me for a while, for a long time. I asked his father about his well-being, and he said he's 22 years old. He has gone to take his girlfriend to her house. On his way back, he wanted to go get a haircut, so he wanted to make a shortcut, goes to the park from the underpath. 4 people, African-American, attacked him, beat him up so much. They didn't take his phone, they didn't take his money, they didn't take his watch. They just beat him up, that he was in a hospital for 2 weeks. And he is at home and constantly he has seizure. So I'm thinking to myself, 4 human They weren't hungry. They didn't need anything to steal. But why that behavior? Why such a behavior exists? Why?
Well, the thing is, we do not prepare ourselves for these things, and we do not understand the reason. What you tell me is just a deja vu, because this happened to me and my family. One of my sons is a martial art black belt, and he is a very humble man. He walks the street like anybody else. And a few years ago, he said, "Papa, do you know what happened today?" I said, "What happened?" He said, "I was going to go to catch a train. And 4 black guys, Pakistanis and black guys, came to me. They wanted my leather jacket. And they pulled a knife out." Being a very humble boy, he said, "I don't know what happened, but there were 4 bodies on the floor and knives in my hand." And I said, "What happened to you?" He says, "There's a scratch somewhere on my arm on my leather jacket." I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Papa, I'm trained. I don't need to show when I walk it." But I had 4 literally dead bodies on the floor within seconds. We are not trained for it, but we have to be prepared for it. He would have been, that boy, maybe dead or maybe in the hospital with 4 knives. I had the same experience years ago with Bill Crammond, Lord Bill Crammond. His son was about 18, 19, and he's a black belt judo. I said, "Mehran, we went out, and a couple of people came to attack him. They were on the floor, and he was standing there." And I said, "That was a good investment. I let him play judo and the rest." And we are not prepared for it. If we are prepared for it, could he go into the dimension of the soul, that his physicality wasn't there to be abused? Is it to learn something from it? Is it for you knowing, with the knowledge you have, you can something to do that it might bring knowledge to you and change your future for him? Seizures can be reversed. We've done many of it over years. It does not matter how it comes. It's us that is not why it happened. It's, are we prepared for it? Are we prepared to have a judo training or martial art training to defend ourselves? Or have we trained ourselves to go to the level of the soul that the body is not there for them to attack?
But Mr. Keshe, why is it that I don't go do this thing and jump on someone and beat up someone? Why I don't show that?
We are not brought up. You do something else, you go and attack them in their mouth with your drill. And you think you're doing a good job because you're dead. You're still attacking them because you're trained. You can justify it. You put them through pain, you give them the injection. Can't they use things? Can you teach them that they never have any tooth decay and they can sort it out themselves? We don't do things. I was in a diplomatic meeting very recently, and I said to the what do you call it, attaché, I said, "You know something? You know what I'm talking about outside because you're aware of what's happening in the background." I said, "You know something? My biggest enemy is the ambassador. You tell your ambassador, if you stop becoming my enemy, we can do something positive." He said, "Mr. Keshe," I said, "I'm very open. You speak to your ambassador. When we sort out your ambassador, which is, they tell me, ambassador like this, I don't need enemies, then we can accept, but we're still here to do something for you." And he had no answer to it. We have to be, we got to don't consider why I don't do it, because we are not mindset. We are not there to destroy, to get something out of it. We are mindset to help, to do. But I don't know, no one has that. And I've been involved with you dentists for years. Over 50 years I've been involved with you, 40 years with you dentists. You see yourself as an angel, but I don't know no one that can put a man through more pain than anybody than the dentist when you attack us in your teeth, in your mouth. But you justify it. I'm there to help you. I know no other profession that puts man through the pain.
Mr. Keshe, the other way is to people come to me with pain and get them about pain. I mean, yesterday.
I know, but you give them more pain.
But
they
Mr.
come with
Keshe,
no pain. You say there is a
Mr.
hole
Keshe,
there somewhere.
Mr.
Let me
Keshe,
drill it.
the girl come with the crying, and I stopped crying because I just, you know.
But not all your patients coming with crying. They come there because
Mr.
they think something.
Mr. Keshe, no, Mr. Keshe, that's not true. You know, let me tell you something. I have kids come to me, and every single kids that comes to me after they see me, they come every time with a smile and jump on the chair, because I can tell you this one experience. This is, the boy is not 24 and he works now. He went to college. He came to me when the mother brought him. He was crying sitting on my chair. This little boy, he was like 6, 7 years old. And then I spent 1 hour just talking to him without doing anything. And after that, because I had to do extraction on him because his baby tooth had cavity on it and it was too bad. I did the extraction. He finished and he was smiling after that. Every time he came, right after that, he would come with big smile, go sit on the chair. Still as a 24-year-old, he never missed any appointment. When he comes, he's my best friend. And he never misses because he knows if he goes and do the cleaning, he doesn't need to see me. So it's actually one of the things I always tell my patient. I said, one of the major things that we're missing in our education, in the educational system in universities, is all about how you can make money. It's not about teaching people how to take care of the body. So when people come in, if you just shove your hand in their mouth without talking to them, so what you do, you have this scary vision of the dentist. But when a kids come to you, when you speak to them, you teach them, you don't have to do anything with them anymore. Then they just come and do the clinic. They never have any cavities. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to do is, you talk about the pain. We are not trained, or we're not there to get on the suffering. But in general, in speaking, we are not trained to do certain things. We are not trained, and some of us react to that kind of things. The reality is, some of us, we don't know when it happens how we react. We don't even remember how we react. It's a sequence of things which we go through, and it's automatic reaction. The reality is how we perceive our action is to be done or has had the effect of. We don't go out to harm. We don't go out to destroy. We sit, we do what we need to do to see the progressive development. But why other people go to harm, we don't know. They have their own reasons, they have their own mindset. I always said, I don't understand. We live in Austria, and now we see a lot of Ukrainian cars coming through. Some break on the side road. They don't know where they are. They're just driving to be away from where they are, where they were. Some of them are there till it gets better. And I've asked myself this question a few times. We know the reason. We see the background behind it. But did the Putin or the Russian leadership and the Vatican and the Russian Church could not work out this in a peaceful manner? and he had to get to this point? Or is there something as a human race we have to learn at the final stages of this killing process for the religion? If you look, Vatican did the same thing in Northern Ireland. They fought for 300 years. They wanted it because the access to that was the proof taking over the monarchy of the British monarchy since Henry VIII, Church of England. Now they have. This is not the skirmishes of a few hours. But why did they have to get to the point of a war? Why couldn't we discuss in Vatican and in the Church, Orthodox Church in what do you call it, in Moscow? Or in St. Petersburg? Where we have forgotten the language of peace. Would one of you enter the space flight and you're so true to your wish in the soul that you want to elevate? It's not something that you have is fashionable, but truly within your own soul, you wish the elevation of the soul of all leaders, and they all be elevated by your soul. And you start seeing the change in the coming years. Oh, they changed, I wish. But was that wish, was that soul elevation truly came within, that it, what we call it, reached the point? You know, if you were in England and you know about the beer game, it's called Heineken. There used to be an advertising called Heineken reaches the part that no other beer can reach. Would your soul be so sincere that can reach maybe 1, maybe 10, maybe half of the world leaders, that they walk away from the war because it was your sincere? You brought their souls to your level. That's what we do when you go in the enhancement units. Your energy is lower and the system is higher. It gives for it to elevate it that you don't have a cancer. Are there the souls, the cancer cells, that need to receive, to elevate with it? And it was given with sincerity. And because it was done in such a way that it fulfilled, it brought, next day there is no war. Next day there is no cup. Next day there is something positive. Maybe 100 of you go into the system and 10 of you have that sincere wish. And each one of you, according to the strength of you have, you can reach 1 or 2 or 10 of the world leaders. Collectively, you receive 100 of them. You reach maybe 50 of them. This is the beauty of the new world. This is the beauty of the new science.
Mr. Keshe, another question is, yesterday in Farsi teaching, regarding your last week teaching, when you look at we talk about the creator and we talk about the decay, like when you have a neutron, we get a proton and electron. Because I think the discussion we had and then the different point of view, I think comes from maybe we look at things in a matter state, not plasma state, because they were saying, okay, we have the neutron and then proton and electron. Electron is the soul and a proton is the physicality. And then they were saying, no, not neutron is the soul. And
you decide which one.
So, and then we didn't, I really got confused. And I said, maybe I should ask you the question. So maybe you can explain.
You see, one stands the representation of the other. Without the electron, proton cannot manifest itself, and without the proton, electron cannot manifest itself. It's the interaction of the two which leads to manifestation of both. And as a nuclear physicist, the first thing we were taught, it's there. In reality, you cannot see the proton in a way. Those days, we had these machines. We could see a fuzzy light moving fast. And they said, this is the electron.
But Mr. Keshe, Dr. Bayapur was saying, what about the hydrogen? Hydrogen, you look at the hydrogen and it's not decaying. So where is the
hydrogen decays? Who says it doesn't? Hydrogen decays more than anything else. Why is the source of energy? If you look in the amino acid, we always said the energy comes released by the interaction with it. How it cannot do if it wasn't. It irritates, it agitates, it forces according to its position in respect to nitrogen to release energy. And part of it absorbs itself. This is the lack of understanding in the world of the nuclear scientists or nuclear physics or in biology. When you have a proton, electron, and oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, in this position, you get a specific field release, which is good for the cell of the brain. If I put oxygen here and put the carbon here, oxygen here and put carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen here, you get a different field released. And this is good for the cell of your heart. We haven't understood the totality, a three-dimensional active plasma life. It's not that this is an isotope of oxygen. The positioning interaction now it has to interact with three different ways. Now the oxygen has a different position in interaction. And it's the same. We think in singularity that that we cannot see three-dimensional. When a body finishes for the energy of this structure for the brain, it doesn't destroy it. Because of its new orientation in things, now this is good for the cell of the kidney. And when it finishes releasing energies for the kidney, it's good for the cell of the leg. Once our body creates a thing, just doesn't get rid of it because one cycle is finished. It uses it to its maximum. And then it rejects it if it cannot use it anymore. This is what the world of science, world of biology, medicine have not understood. When you have a cell which every 28 days or every 500 days or whatever goes and gets rejected, it doesn't go as part of your, experiment, as part of urinating. It goes that it can be used for everything possible, then is rejected. And sometimes this transportation leads to the transplantation of cancer cells because they pick up the code of energy fields. We've seen this in women. When you go through your monthly menstruation, you prepare the body for new birth. The body collects all vitamins, everything else, even calcium from the hip of the mother, because that's a ready-made element, totally converted, and it brings it ready for the cycle to create a new life, new information and dimension, because every cell has a calcium within it. The child is not born. The body just doesn't reject everything. It puts it back, store it as the mother is going to feed the child. That calcium goes to the breast. But it stores it, doesn't waste it. And if you understand this, a lot of illnesses can be stopped. Because we transport it, we don't understand the cycle of a step down or a step up of the energy of the cells. And this is the progressive development of an understanding of the knowledge. Then, in this process, which one is the soul of the system? Or does the soul of the system in this amino acid is here this time, but it's here next time? We have to open a level of not understanding, but realizing the truth, and we see it. This is why in the last teaching I talked about bringing these cells into the vacuum and see how three-dimensional they look. The knowledge, the science, and the technology has to be understood in all its facets and dimensions. Not just because we understand our part, we don't think we understand our part.
Mr. Keshe, the last thing, if you permit, you've been to cinema and you go sit on the chair.
No, I don't know what it is, a cinema.
Cinema.
I call it a sleeping chair.
Okay.
I tell you, when I go to cinema, the first 5 minutes I'm awake, and I wake up the last 2 minutes before the movie is finished.
Maybe Mr. Keshe, you're not the only one. I'm like that too, so no worries. But you've been to cinema. So when you sit in the chair, you see a bigger screen in front of you, and there's nothing there. And then suddenly when the projector in the back starts, you see the hero, the villain, the lover, and you see all those actions. You see a kiss, you get affection by it, you feel good, suddenly somebody screams, you jump. And because the screen show you that, but then when you get up and you stand and you look into the light, and all is come from that light, it doesn't exist. So the creator himself is that light, that when the light of it shine on earth, on a condition of earth, this screen is showing, but actually if I go up to the light, I don't have to see what is on the screen. I can change it. Is it right?
What about the projector? And what about the film in the projector?
But I become the light.
No, you become a sucker of the light because the screen will be black.
But okay, so if we go to
have you ever been to the cinema, especially when you sit in the back row when you're young, and you try if you can reach the projector light?
Yeah.
You used to do that in Tehran, and then you move your two fingers, and on the screen appears a bird flying.
Yes.
So you haven't changed the light; you just interfere with the light.
Okay, so if you go there, so we go to the creator. So I can go to the light, which is the creator. But then you said the creator was created by the other field. So the other field is the projector.
Yeah. So.
And then okay, so now I have to go further than right to the projector then.
Yeah.
Then I can change.
You're just saying maybe now you have to do the whole movie before they can change anything.
Not change it in a way that I change it for everybody else, but my perception of what I see is going to change.
Maybe.
Maybe you'd have to get to know the projector operator.
I think Rick is talking about himself. You better talk that he can put it right. But in a way, we cannot change the course in so many ways. If the course is set, the movie will carry on. You think you blocked it, the movie will be played the next session, it will be the same without you interfering in it.
So what you're saying I have to go through what I see and finish it.
It is. That's why you went to the movie, to see what other people have made that you can watch. There's a beautiful thing. Bang Min is here. She can explain to you. You've seen the movie Avatar, and this thing, these valleys and mountains and hills actually exist. It's a beautiful place, part of China. We had the pleasure to be taken there and to see it, and it's one of the most wonderful places in the world. The beauty of it and the extent of it is breathtaking. And when you see the movie, they add characters into it. in essence, does not exist in that dimension. They made it to look, and they create the perception that in these beautiful mountains of China, such a thing exists. It's one of the most beautiful places on this planet. And is it the reality of those things which you see in the movie, or is it something that we accept what's in the background as a reality and the rest is production made for us to believe in? And apparently Avatar 2 is coming out at the end of this year called The Water. And what is the extent of reality and made to believe? And how much we can change that made to believe? But the reality stays there. The mountains won't change, the trees won't be there. The most beautiful valleys in the universe are within that mountain range. It's an experience if you get a chance to go to China and go and see it once they open up. It is beyond belief how reality is. Because I watched the movie, and when you see the environment, it just, you expect the people you see in the movie to pop out somewhere, but they're not there. Because it's imagination we made. We fit it onto a reality which is there, we cannot change. The creator is the reality. Our life is that imagination we built on it, and we want to fit into it, that it becomes one.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Keshe.
us who has to understand it. If you get a chance to go to China, go and see this area, what we call it out. And
Where is in China, Mr. Keshe?
Oh, just go on the travel agents. At the moment, everything is banned. You cannot go in. But when you come, Banglin is in the background. Banglin, are you there? Could you tell us where it is? Is she with us? No, she has left. The reality is the creator is there. We would like to create an image on his, what we call canvas. That canvas does never change. Any other question?
عذرخواهی می‌کنم جناب پروفسور. سلام عرض شد.
آقای دکتر براپور.
حالتون چطوره؟
خیلی ممنونم.
قربان شما، سلامت باشید. ببخشید من
ترجمه کنم. Let me explain.
تمنا می‌کنم، لطف می‌کنم.
Dr. Barapur, one of the heads of the Keshe Foundation in Iran, is online, and he doesn't speak English so good, so I try to translate. Or Azari better do, because you're both medicals, you understand much better than I do.
Mr. Keshe, okay, I can do it if you want.
Please, go ahead.
سلام خانم دکتر.
سلام، خوب هستین؟
ممنونم، شما خوب هستین؟
خیلی ممنون.
ببخشید راجع به داستان دیشب صحبتی که شده بود جناب پروفسور، اصلا صحبت دیکی نبود که بگیم دیکی میشه یا دیکی نمیشه یه چیزی. متاسفانه هرچی ما میگفتیم نمیتونستیم چیمونو بگیم. صحبت شد که روح در بدن انسان و در تمام خلقت معادل با الکترون هست و ما گفتیم که جانم
میخوایم من ترنسلیت کنم تا اینجا صحبت کردی یا میخواین ادامه بدیم؟
تمام کنم هر جور سلام به شما یا جناب پروفسور. من در
Dr. Lapur is saying last night discussion wasn't about decay or not decay. We were talking about the soul in everything, like in everything that exists. Go ahead, Dr. Lapur.
خواهش می‌کنم. و صحبتی که شد جناب بوجارم گفتم معادل با الکترون هست و پروتون معادل با فیزیکالیتی و ما گفتیم که توی ورکشاپ های قبلیمون داشتیم که سول بقول سول آف کریئتورمون معادل پروتون هست و سول آف فیزیکالیتیمون معادل، یعنی فیزیکالیتی معادل الکترون. و این پارادوکسی که بودش و ما سوال کرده بودیم که چرا اینجوری هست، و ایشون گفتن نگفتن اگر اینجوری باشه اگر بیاریم توی فرم ببخشید من همینجوری اگه ترجمه کنم.
Okay, Dr. Abu is asking, we weren't talking about, we talk about the proton to be the soul, and then the proton be physicality and the neutron be the soul of the creator. Now, electron be the soul of the physical, soul of the soul itself.
Creator.
The creator. But in the past, we were saying the neutron was the creator or the soul. And the
proton is the برعکس میخوانه پروتون سول آف کریتورون هست و قبلا اینجوری گفته شده بود و الکترون سول آف فیزیکال بادی یا فیزیکال بادی.
Okay, in the past was saying proton was the soul of the soul of the creator and the electron was the physicality. Now we're saying the other way around.
سوالی که کرده بودیم دیشب جواب پروفسور همین بود که آیا سول آف کریتور ما معادل پروتون باید بگیم یا معادل الکترون؟ برای اینکه فرض کنیم مثلا توی اتم هم هر چیزی که تو کوچیک هست تو بزرگ هم هست، بالا هم هست، پایین هم هست. اگر یه اتم رو در نظر بگیم یه اتم هیدروژن، من اینو سوال کرده بودم که یک اتم هیدروژنی که قرار نیست هیچ واپاشی فروپاشی یا هیچ بلایی سرش بیاد، فقط یه هیدروژن میشه. حالا تو این هیدروژنه این مرکز هستمون در حقیقت که یه پروتون هستش، این فیزیکالیتیه یا معادل سوله؟
Mr. Keshe, are you there?
خانده تو ترجمه نمی‌کنی؟
Okay, Dr. Apu is saying we're talking one hydrogen, the hydrogen that is not doing anything, any decay, but the essence of it, the proton in it, is it the soul or is it physicality?
It depends on what scale you're talking about, what you're talking about, in what do you call it, position and dimension. When we teach, please listen to the whole discussion and not to one part. In a way, this, if you look at it, the soul of the creator is within a proton. But without, and on the other hand, the soul of the man is within the electron. But at the position when the soul of the man itself becomes the center in respect to the soul of the creator, which you call it a proton, because it came from it. It's the same part. You have to understand in what space, time, and position and what we are talking about. And not just because we said the proton is the soul of the creator and the electron is the soul of the man, or the soul of the creator is the electron and the proton is the soul of the man. In understanding in what context we're talking about, this is what is important. Go back to the teaching, why we said this is this, and in the next teaching, in respect to the soul of the man, we see the soul of the man as a proton and the soul of the physicality as an electron. And the interaction of the two creates that atom, doesn't matter, hydrogen or whatever. Or is the soul of the creator is so intense and so interactive that the soul of the man is literally, if you look at the dimension of the proton as being non-movable, it hardly moves in a way, if you look at it in respect to the electron, is that electron is the soul of the creator and the man, which is literally nothing compared to the action and the dimension of the, what do you call it, the soul of the creator. We have to understand in what dimension we talk about and what we're talking about. Because when the soul of the man, when the soul of the man is the proton, it means is within the fields of the creator, which is active at much higher strength than the proton. Do you want to translate? Or are you lost? میخوایم خودم ترجمه کنم راحت تر.
اوکی.
ببینید آقای دکتر برپور، بسیار داره راجع به چه موقعیتی صحبت میکنید.
بله من متوجه شدم جناب پروفسور، ولی دیشب صحبت این شده بود که تو همه چیز حتی یونیورس مرکزش که اولا که گفتن اصلا مرکزی به اسم خالق وجود نداره، بعدش هم گفتن که این مرکز الکترونه و تو بدن انسان هم سول آف کریئتور الکترونه نسبت به فیزیکالیتی بدن انسان و نسبت به فیزیکالیتی.
من نبودم اونجا که باید اون چیزی که جواب بدید. همه رو گوش بدیم ببینیم چه مطرح چی بوده. ببینیم بعضی اوقات
و اینکه برای مثال همین که من عرض کردم خدمتتون هیدروژن گفتم اصلا بدون اینکه در نظر بگیریم با هیچ چیز دیگه توی یک اتم هیدروژن اون سول اصلیش توی پروتون هست و الکترون‌ها میشن فیزیکالیتی که دورش میگردن. اینجوری باید تصورش کنیم. یا تو بدن انسان سول آف کریئتور تو مرکز تو مغزمونه و فیزیکال بادی میشه الکترونی که دورش داره میچرخه. ولی میگفتن که خیر
داره ایشون
نه در رابطه با قیاس با کریئتور نبود که آدم در سول انسان در قبال سول کریئتور چه حالتی داره. نه تو کل موجودات تو کل خلقت حتی یونیورس حتی صحبت هیدروژن و بدن انسان یا چیزای دیگه هم که شد گفتم بلا استثنا سول آف کریئتور حکم چی رو داره؟ الکترون رو داره و سول آف فیزیکال بادی پروتون.
باید بیشتر بفهمیم چی بوده تا به دقیقا برید تفصیل داره به چه ایشون چی فهمیدم از شما چی منظورتون بوده راجع به اون موقعیت.
من منظورم این بودش که توی ورکشاپ فکر کنم 362 بودش که داشتیم که ما سول انسان مثل پروتون میمونه و ما باید این بندریشو بیاریم بیرونتر از اون حد به قول من فیزیکال بادی که بتونه اون رو در بر بگیره که اون انولوپ دورمون ایجاد بشه. و اون توضیحی هم که داده بودیم فهمیده بودیم که به خاطر مثل اون حالت همجوشی توی اتم‌ها هستش که پروتون میاد روی الکترون ها، اون میدانهای پروتون روی میدانهای الکترون در حقیقت میگیره. ولی صحبتی که دیشب شد گفتن که نه به طور عام هر چی که فیزیکالیتی از پروتونه و هر چی که چی هستش اون به قول معروف سول آف کریئتور الکترون هستش. گفتم اگه اینجوری باشه الکترون داره دور پروتون میگرده که نمیشه هم چیزی هستن.
بله ولی اونجور هم میشه بعضی وقت بسیار از چه موقعیتی نگاه میکنیم بهش.
بله اگه در قیاس با سول کریئتور بگیم بعد ما حکم الکترون رو پیدا میکنیم.
خیلی متشکرم دکتر برپور.
سلامت
باشید. خیلی متشکرم. Sorry about this. I'm just shortly translated. Dr. Barapur says we have to understand that we were not in the teaching yesterday, so this is an extra part of two different understanding of the whole teachings and interpretation of as an electron, which one is the soul of the nano, and as a proton, which one is the soul of the creator. And as I said, is we have to understand the time, position, and space, and what we're expecting to see from what and to where position. Are we looking for the love of the creator, or are we looking for the detachment of the man from the creation and the creator that is in there confirms existence? And this is what the discussion has been. Some of these teachings, which goes on in different languages, gets very exciting for translators and what we call the participants. I've been in a few, it gets sometimes very, very hot when one cannot understand the other and one tries to stick to the line. As I was discussing with one of our Italian team members a couple of nights ago in a conversation, that we have to understand our teaching. We have to understand our teachings, when we teach, that not everyone is at the level of the one we are, and some are ahead of us and some just joined in. We have to be, in a way, equal, that everybody takes something from the teaching, especially the translation groups and then the workshops which goes afterwards. a lot of workshops goes on around the Keshe Foundation, around the world in different languages. And we should not look at the foundation just because of somebody who teaches something. And we see a lot of the teachers who've just been there a little bit longer. They think they have all the rights and they're right in what they say. And they cause a lot of problem for themselves and a lot of knowledge seekers. Any other question?
ممنونم جناب پروفسور.
خیلی متشکرم.
Okay, we've got a couple more hands up here with Stefania. If she can, she might need a bit of time because there's a delay in her transmission there apparently. And we have Moshfek as well after that. Stefania, can you go ahead? She may need actually a few minutes. Perhaps she has to pull over or something.
As usual with the Italians.
They're always on the go. Well, let's listen to what Moshfek has to say then.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, everybody. We had discussion about, turning bedroom into our lab. So this is, I'm talking about an experiment I did in the bedroom. So this experiment is about lowering the field of the blood so that the soul can travel, just like we do in the dream. But I was trying to do it consciously. And my aim was to go to a specific location in Brazil where I have visited with my friends. And I was doing it in my afternoon time, and I could sense that I'm in that location. My senses were not as focused, but nevertheless I could tell. And when I got there, I was startled to find out it was daytime, because I assumed that it would be nighttime in Brazil, but actually it was early in the morning. So I felt and I could tell the environment. It was not particularly clear because it was my first time kind of doing this. And then I came back. And so my question is, I could see that the soul travel can be done consciously. Yeah, of course, I need to work on it. But what I'm interested in is that, since it's a bedroom, I'm doing it in the bedroom, I can take my body with me over there. And how would I design an experiment? Some hints, maybe to enclose my body in the soul field and do the traversal. So it's clear that I can travel. Now, although I'm not good at it, but nevertheless it worked.
You're learning. You're in the sandbox.
Yeah, I'm in the sandbox. I want to see how I can extend, go from one part of the sandbox to the other part of the sandbox. So that's it.
Yeah, what happened? It goes by testing or detachment. And I've mentioned this before. I know one lady living in Bruges in Belgium who could do it. And she started doing it from childhood. And people like in Tibet, they could see her. She always went to the same place because it's the only way in her mind where she could find peace, what was happening to her in the dimension of physicality. In a way, she was there in physicality, and she manifests herself in physicality in Tibet. She was physically abused by father, the grandfather, and the brother at the same time, sexually. And she was taken from pub to be abused. This is tradition in Belgium. Don't get shocked with it. And they open pubs and they put their children to earn money out of it. This is a tradition in Belgium. Don't get shocked. And she came to me, and I used to go to her house to meet others. And she wrote this and gave it to us as a paper, as a dossier, that because she didn't want to face the abuse, the pain of man raping her, she managed to lock into and go where childhood, wherever she heard that Tibet is somewhere, she can be there. She could be there, people could see her, she explained, and being aware that the body is getting abused by men at the age of 6, 7, 8, whatever. And there are people who do this because you want to do it. But she says she could do it every time the father, the grandfather, and a brother were together abusing her. And I explained, I tried, I met with her maybe 30, 40 times, maybe more. And I tried to intrigue into this, to understand more, because how could she manifest itself in Tibet? And she says, this is the where I could find peace, where my physicality in this dimension had no meaning. When they finished with it, my father could pick the body up and take it to the other pub for the other man to abuse me. And so it's not just exercising, it's that you choose how and where. And this is what I said. We can pre-plan it when you go to sleep. And we can accidentally go to sleep. You set to get better to do it. Try to set it up that you don't need to force yourself. It's like I said, we had two Spanish couple in Valletta. They were sitting there. The guy was trying to push to see if the pen moves. And I said, it's not very done. You have to understand the soul of the pen, and you ask it if it wants to please you. Or you go to the next extent of learning more and more to do it. You're not the only one, Moshraq. Many, many knowledge seekers are taking this path. They're testing it, and they're seeing what they want. And some of the knowledge seekers preempt where they want to be before they go to sleep, and in the physical dimension, go through that path to where they planned. I get a lot of knowledge seekers sending messages or whatever explanation of the dreams. And this time they could control it. You don't need to force it. If you understand it, pre-plan it, not pre-plan it. You know, like I want to go to town today to buy a pair of trousers. I go to bed, I want to go and see the Uncle Sam. Or I want to go to the zoo. And then you come to it and see if you went to the zoo when you woke up. And how much of the zoo you remember. These are important for us. I learned through a number of people who I met in this circle with the nun and this lady, a lot about the facts that how many women create that condition in Belgium, because some of them commit suicide because they cannot take that, and they never learn how to let the physicality go and just be there when you come back. Children abused by the nation, by this culture of Belgium, is as you go to cinema. If you haven't lived in it, you don't understand it. But then you understand the people who are the victims, what they went through. And then you see those who had the same experience, if they find each other, they gather together. And they tell you the experiences, how they do. And what they can leave detached from the physicality, because at the age of 6, 7, a man of 30, 40 abuses you, the pain is too much. But the father gets paid. To you it's revolting, but this is a fact in this nation. And one day, you remember, I hiddenly brought Alex out when he received threats. I'll bring this lady for you, for her to explain. She's very open about it. And then you see the people who actually do it. I came to this group through the Belgian security who appointed a nun or a woman who looked after these children who were abused by the priests from young age in the church. And many of them couldn't accept by just 17, 18, commit suicide. And I was asked to meet with this lady who's supposed to be finding a way to stop this process of abuse of the priests raping 6, 7, 8-year-old children. And she said, I can understand many of these children commit suicide because they can't take it. They go to church to pray, but they get abused. And they cannot, nobody believes them because they do it themselves. And many of them learn this going through the soul and detaching from the body. They do what they like with it. I come back to it when they finish. But we do that in the sleep. We go to bed. Maybe we created the sleep for this purpose. It's not physical repair. It's for our soul to have its time to be on its own because the physicality is locked here in this bed. And now we are trying to learn how to become conscious of where it goes. And we want to be the what we call decision maker in that travel. This is what it's about, no more, no less. You decide where you go, and then you need the practice.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to add that it was not in a dream what I did. It was a consciously, all of it was,
yes. These people do it consciously. Yeah. These people do it consciously.
Yes, but I mean, that's a more traumatic experience, but
yeah,
I'm
but
trying to
let me explain to you. Thank you very much for bringing this up. I understand what you're saying. That was the whole purpose. It's done consciously. But consciously, you can plan it before you go to sleep. Before, in a way, you force yourself to go there. Now you know you go there, but you can pre-plan it tonight. Okay, when the physicality is here, I decide I want to go and see, what do you call it, uncle. Or I want to go to see another universe, another dimension, or I want to see something I haven't seen. Some of you which will go through the enhancement unit 5 system will reach that point. Your eyes will be open to a new dimension. It's not the out-of-body experience as I see written in one of the notes. It is you deciding where the soul goes out of your body when it's in bed. When you put it there, when not in bed, in the sleep time, it could be on the sofa, it could be in the desert. You allow the two to grow and you're respecting the knowledge they bring back. You know, it's like you say, when I get a holiday, I go and see the uncle. Bedtime, sleep time is a holiday time for the physicality, the soul goes and you go with it. But you can decide. More and more of you are practicing this and you're seeing it, and gradually you're becoming to understand you can live in one dimension or the other with respect to the one is still existing. We don't need the death to bring that separation. We make that part of us. And this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of it. I in the course of the works in Belgium, came across this group. And they are very precise, and you can check the other side to confirm. It's not just a dream, or that's something they wish. Because there, you give yourself a dimension of physicality, because now the soul is there, it can do and create that dimension of the physicality, how they look. And it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. A very interesting thing is with this abusive behavior in Belgium, that usually parents use all the daughters of the family, 2 or 3 of them. And you see the ones which are, they enjoy the abuse, or in a way, they were part of it, they are very slim. And the sisters who are not, could not accept and could not go through that acceptance, take pleasure from the abuse in a way because they've been in charge. I've spoken about this before in other teaching. They are very fat, all of them. You see sister and a brother, a sister and two sisters taken from pop to pop, or people come home to abuse them and they pay the parents for it. The one who has been part of it and being there knows I have got nothing to do. You know, I'm part of it, I enjoy it. They're very slender. The other children are all fat, beyond some of them fat. They make themselves so ugly not to be touched by them, by the men abuse them more because there's more who abuse. And we've seen this. You see this in Belgium quite often. When you see two sisters on the street, I attended a conference in Ronson, where the people who are abused by this, I gave a talk to this group. And you see, wherever there are two sisters, and when I pointed out to them, they know. It's us who chooses. And how is that? And how we leave that so. And what we accept and how we do it. Any other question? Have we managed to get Stefania back?
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Mr. Keshe, yes, finally. But most of the question has been answered, but I had one I would like to make. But is regarding again what you were talking before about the circles. I noticed last week in the public teaching, you make a big circle that divided in two, one smaller, one bigger. The bigger one divided in two, but the smaller divided in one. I'm wondering if it was a mistake or
no, it's just a process of teaching. It's just a process of teaching because we don't repeat and repeat.
Because I thought the bigger one was the I saw it this way. No, obviously everyone sees different way. I saw it like was the soul of the man. That once we go that way, with the soul of the man, we can then decide to make the physical soul another. And again, no, actually, no. Don't worry. I think I'm confused because I thought when you
this is so easy to confuse. All the Italians are just
but then another things for the vacuum, because you ask us where the force fields come from, and I thought about that all week, and definitely the vacuum has something to do with it. And but I was thinking who creating the vacuum, and I thought the vacuum maybe is created from an intention or recalling the sensation of the feelings of the creator, because maybe the feelings of the creator are so strong and so powerful they can make this vacuum. But who make the intention of creating the vacuum or because, for example, in my work, every movement is connecting to feelings. You cannot separate the two. So the vacuum is a movement of the fields interacting in one or the other. So it has to be a sensation connected to that. Because cannot be separated. They're the same things. So, but then I'm thinking, who then created sensation? And then I think the sensation could be created from intention, because this is how we learn how to, when we're babies, we create a movement because we copy something that we see every day, and then we copy, and we make all these movements until at every moment then is a touch of sensation. So I'm thinking, who created the vacuums? So this was my questions.
What we call vacuum is a matter-state combination of plasmas not to exist in that given pressure. In the world of creation, we don't have that. We have fields and we have rays and particles, as we call it, depends when it becomes a plasma collection. And we cannot have a vacuum of fields. We can have vacuum of collection of fields we call a plasma. And even 100% vacuum in the world of matter state is impossible, because we cannot create a field extraction, a strength of the full spectrum of the what we call energies. We tested this quite a lot in the lab, because fortunately we have a system here in Linz as well, which is a very powerful small chamber vacuum, a small chamber, and we can reach up to minus 12, 13 if we push it. But in Bruges, we could reach, but we could control stage by stage of the vacuum. We could go to minus 2, minus 5, minus 10. And we could see the interactions of what we get in our systems. When you go to minus 4 or minus 5, you get huge interactions in your reactor, because you haven't vacuumed everything out in all full spectrum. You still have some particles left. When you go to 10 or 8, you see change of the interactions, because now you have less of plasma, but now you have more of fields. This is why our atomic, or what we call nuclear sources, work better, because when you have the plasma of the elements as whatever, our fields, our radiation will travel and gets absorbed by them, maybe 2 centimeters. But if we go to up to, let's say, minus 8, it travels 6 centimeters. But if you go to minus 12, it travels 21.6 centimeters. The fields are still there as a ray, nuclear atomic rays, but collection of the plasmas don't exist because we extract. But then we see what we call a sharp pinch in it. And we couldn't understand how suddenly we vacuum the chambers, so we get a ping. What we very quickly understood was that, because if you look at all our systems are made of carbon plastic combination of CH, the radiation was weakening these, so some of these surface material were released as atomic and now became the material that we had to vacuum. Then if you look, I was looking at one of these reactors very recently. We came, if you were in the Standard of Knowledge because you've seen it, we put a copper laying into this, into these reactors, that we nano-coated the copper lay, that we would not allow what we call diffusion of the plasma. And we could keep the reactors very, very stable without the peaks in it. So we create vacuum in what we call vacuum chambers, but this is in the matter elements like hydrogen or whatever. But we cannot create a vacuum of fields, magnetic fields. It is not something which is impossible. It can be achieved. It's very hard to achieve, but the only way you can do it is like opening, when you open a curtain two sides and you peep your head in through between the two curtains. We can create, and we have the knowledge to be able to create this, what you call vacuum curtain for a short time. And we have to close it because maintaining it in a field dimension is very, very difficult. I've done this many times, but I use it to allow cosmic rays in. And it needs a very much deeper understanding of release of fields in dimensions where you can control it. This we do the same. Part of this principle goes back the same with enhancement units. Enhancement units have a nano layer separation for this purpose, that we don't allow other fields to come in, and we can control the gravitational fields within our reactors, within our system. So you can create vacuum of the matter plasma if you can get a full spectrum, or but it's very, very hard to create a zero field. Even when we open a curtain, that curtain is for a specific strength. It's not for all the full spectrum of the strength. You have other fields going through that open window as they were going before. It is very, very hard to achieve a full, actually it's impossible to achieve a field vacuum. Plasma vacuum is possible. It's very not difficult, but it's achievable. And we will see this in the spectrum of the works of the flight units, that we create the conditions. And this is one of the reasons we will not allow, or we change the dimension to a flight without a physicality. Try to explain more of it, but zero vacuum in the fields is full spectrum is impossibility. It does not exist anywhere in the universe, because there's always fields. It's like neutrinos. We don't see them, but they pass through us because we haven't managed, we haven't grasped the idea of the total. We can create vacuum in a given spectrum of strength according to what we want. And that's all it is. But matter state plasma, very, very difficult, because you always, through vacuum, you degenerate part of the wall of your system. And we've seen it quite, especially if we use radioactive fields, it becomes harder because your radioactives become the cause of the separation of the, what do you call it, the particles from the body of the reactor. Any other question?
Would the nano-coated copper be one of the better surfaces to resist that kind of impact?
Partially, yes, but again, you have to understand how you nanocoat. Because when you nanocoat, you actually create more free space, more free electrons to be freed, or atoms to be freed, because you just created that space gap. When the particle is at the surface, it's tightly packed. When you put it in a nanocoat, now you have created that separation. And it's much harder to what do you call it, control. But there are ways that you can do this, but you have to know how you do it.
If you had a working plasma in that nano layer that would repel the other plasma in the main part of the reactor, would that be a solution?
Yeah, it depends what purpose you're using it. What's the purpose of the work? Somewhere it could be advantageous, and in another case doesn't mean it could be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? This is part of what entails is horses for courses. In specific reactors, especially, you've seen that copper reactor we have, which was used for energy production. The nano coating on this is literally powder. you can scoop it. You can scoop nanoparticles from the surface. It was built for that purpose, to build up energy in the layers that the fields cannot escape. We use the properties of the nano layer to create that, that resistance. You cannot do it with the matter state. You cannot put a mechanical system to block the field. But the reason you see a nano layer black is because you create trap holes for the field. This is a technique which we developed over years. And you have to understand how you do it, what thickness you're doing it, the reason you're doing it. Why are you creating this condition? What do you expect from the operation and testing? These are all combined. That's why I say you have to not only understand, but when you make reactors, consider all aspects, all dimensions, and not just I think this is what I'm going to do, but then you are ignorant to what is happening behind the curtain by the fields and the materials. You're thinking you're actually creating a vacuum, but you actually are releasing more atoms because your plastic is so weak that allows you to do such a thing. If you've done the Coca-Cola bottle, creating the first, first gases, and as a trap, the Coca-Cola bottle test, you see that in 2 spots in the bottle, you get holes, and the cap of the Coca-Cola bottle dissolves. But you never thought, but you thought you created a good condition, but you're actually releasing more and more atoms from the layer of the bottle into the environment. It's not a vacuum, it gets more denser material. You think you're working at -10, but you're actually +20, because you never consider that the wall of your Coca-Cola is releasing millions and billions of atoms into what you thought was a vacuum. We do that in the testing of the creation of a specific field. We cannot contain, we need a specific field strength, especially when we use helium as layering. Helium escapes through the wall. It's one of the most nastiest things to work with. And we spend time trying to find a way to hold the helium. And it was very simple. I walked into a balloon shop, and the guy was blowing up the balloons with the helium gas for children. And we said, you cannot hold it. The only thing we do, we spray the wall of the balloon, we spray into the balloon with a helium sealant. I took it, I went, I tested it, and it works. I can hold the helium within the containers, but then you have another problem with the structure you have to sort out. Depends what you want to do and what tests you are doing. You're well into this, Rick. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Interesting.
Mr. Keshe, so for example, when you were talking just now about us traveling with the soul, no? So when we're traveling with the soul, all this, it's not a problem. We don't have a problem with plastic.
You never had a problem traveling with soul because you dream every night. Yeah. So you have to find out what you haven't understood what you're doing when you let the body loose.
But for example, when we were in the Moja, no, you told us, do you remember you said the next day you're gonna fly, no? So so we were four people with intention to make a spacecraft. And then I felt this pulling, and I was wondering if that pulling was when you balance the fields. You know, when you said just now, the pilots have to equalize the fields with the enhancement unit. So I was wondering if when I felt that force, was like coming from underneath up, and that difference of weight. If it was this building up of fields to then have this rejection, like this decay thing happening, I was wondering, because with human, I suppose we are vacuum. You said last week we are also vacuum. We all vacuum. So we could do it between us easier than. So now I understand why you said the enhancement unit is enhance. So is enhance what we can do.
Yeah, but it depends how you are and what is the reason. If the reason is correct and is for not you, but let's say the benefit of the others or benefit of another person than you always can reach it out very quickly. I had this experience past couple of days. The foundation needed a massive support. And I reached through my soul and the person felt there is something. And when I called on the phone, the person said, I already had a feeling. Because the desire is for the elevation of the soul of the foundation. It's not for me. And that response was sincere enough to be passed through the soul before the physicality could feel it. We do not abuse our knowledge, but when there is a need, we convey the knowledge. And we say, oh, I felt something. It's not, because the soul has already been reached. The need is there, is sincere, and it's for the betterment, elevation of the whole foundation. It's not for a person. And we learn this. We start communicating at the soul level. We start understanding is my soul who has received. So physicality is just a servant. Does not matter what the state it is, what we consider it to be. If the desire is sincere and is for elevation of another soul or a totality, always works out. Physicality is just a servant. And we see this on a regular basis. I reach knowledge seekers through the wish of the, what I call enlargement, elevation of the soul of the foundation in humanity, and they always answer. Then we go to terms of physicality. We talk how it's going to be done. And this is something that knowledge seekers gradually will understand. You don't anymore think the same. Your soul works to bring the same. It's a very big difference. So I was just thinking about it, I just felt it. It's not that. It's just that the souls work on the same process, the same understanding, and for the same purpose. Doesn't matter what happens around it. I always said, I know the way to reach the soul of the man. And then it's the soul of the man to bring in dimension of physicality. I came with nothing and I go with nothing. And the whole purpose is to bring that change, to bring that elevation that in the future no man kills. No animal on this planet commits a crime, being taking for another soul. But this is the whole entirely understanding of the process of the teaching. Any other question?
We have a couple of more questions here, and one in the Q&A that I'd like to address. That's from Inácio, I think is the name, from Brazil. It's in Portuguese, which I have translated. And here's how the question goes. Inácio says, immense spacecraft have been found, some underground in places like Ukraine, Russia, central Brazil, Antarctica, and others submerged in the Atlantic Ocean. They called them arcs. They were left on the planet millennia ago by another race. They realized that 2 or 3 civilian humans with specific DNA, upon entering a specific room, could trigger the functioning with only their presence and mental intent. A sort of shimmering blue plasma bubble was formed, and a sort of portal was formed, through which instantly soldiers who were on another arc, Russia location, were transported to that arc, the Atlantic location. Are you aware of these facts? Would this be the same technology used in the space plasma unit?
Can I be honest? I have no clue what you're talking about. I heard about these things, and there is a lot of talk and things, but what you talk is not something out of reality. You got to understand that when you're dealing with the space technology the way people of the universe do, they're not just because you saw a spaceship running above Jerusalem and disappeared, that another spaceship which comes from another position in the universe gets into problem. And what does it do? They don't land on the surfaces. Their plan was to go into the center of the Earth to see the beauties of the interaction of the fields of the plasma, and system malfunctions. So somewhere in between the two, or an entry and change of fields, the thing happens. And you lose everything. This is why, going back to the teaching of today, I said, we set up a system which has no dimension of tangibility. That's one of the reasons for it. When you travel in the space dimension, you have to accept its pitfalls. You have to understand its pitfalls. And Earth is a beautiful place. And it's like you go to see Niagara Falls. People of the universe come to see Earth, the beauty of it. And sometimes system fails. Sometimes the captain gets fall in love with a mermaid of the Earth and gets distracted, and the whole craft gets stuck somewhere in the middle of the ocean or between the rocks while it's going to the center or somewhere else. What happened with our aircrafts when they crash? We go and find a black box to see what happened. These crafts, if you now understand we are not the only citizens of this planet and this universe, then you understand our visitors, they crashed. The crash with them doesn't come in the form of, what do you call it, the scattered pieces. It comes with a failure, and depends on the structure in what magnetic field is set there. These are part of the facts of the space travel. And then if you want to add to it, oh yes, what happens to you if you got a ship in the high seas? You abandon ship. Where do you send it to? When you abandon ship, when you have the rescue teams coming, do the people just jump in the ocean, or you take them to another ship? Would that be any different? When we have a malfunction, we can contain the structure, but we can rescue or move people from one to another. We do it in a normal way. Why should it be any different in this position and direction? It will happen to all of us. This is why we prefer you to understand the position with the dimension, without the dimension of physicality. And even at the level of the soul, you get it wrong. You get trapped in the stone. Now, we have a beautiful say, you know, you want to go somewhere and you get stuck in the middle of, because even the stone has a soul. And then we say, it's got a beautiful, it means bring the donkey and try to load it up with the what do you call it, with the peas. It's an impossibility. You have now to find a way to create the condition. Your system has failed. You do not create the fields to be able to move. So it's normal. You put elaborations on it because it happened. There's a spaceship. If and when we find its spaceships, confirms that Earth has been a tourist point for millions of years. And not all the tourists manage to get out. Sometimes they crash land. Sometimes the system changes fields of the gravity of the Earth. It creates a condition that they stay locked in that position. It's that magnet position. Now that we understand the truth about space technology, we have to understand the totality. And understand is a possibility. Go back to the teachings over the past years I've been trying to explain to you. We lose many of our earthly beings in the space travel due to accidents, malfunctioning of systems. Just because you think you got to the plasma technology or you can fly with a UFO, there'll be no problem. As the Americans say, wake up and smell the coffee. You have to understand there is a failure in every system. Even if you look at it, there's a failure in the creator system that's ended up to be a man. We're trying to fix it. And this abandoned ship in the universe of the creator. Don't think for 1 second just because we found the space technology, now we go with UFO. You have as much failure as you have with the Boeing, Airbus, the yacht on the water, the car on the streets, and everything else which goes with it. It's you who has to understand and accept the risks. In the past, when we were on a donkey, the maximum could happen, you fell off a donkey, you broke a leg. We went to the cars, the maximum is you crash the car, you break a leg, break an arm, and then you might die. We went with flight system, and we saw a couple of shuttles on entry and whatever, they got exploded, and the same thing happened again. And we'll have the same with what you call UFOs to come. It's a natural process of failures of the interaction of the fields the way you expected. Don't think that the space technology will be, oh, hunky-dory, that's it, now we travel. Even we give you the sheets, even we give you the protection, even we give you the high-speed transportation, there's still a factor of the field plasma of the universe which will interact. Nothing is 100% airtight and proof. As I always said, even the creator made a mistake, did not keep an eye on the ball, and led to the creation of the man with all the mayhem we see. If he can still have position to correct, guess what the man is and what the position of man is with what he's learning and trying to do. Any other question?
Yes, we have two hands up here, and first perhaps you can address a question from Jan in the YouTube, who had a question earlier. I answered the question, but he repeated the question because I guess he wasn't happy with my answer. So the question is from Jan, why can't I see a structure in the teaching? 2 months ago, it was about learning to go from GANs to matter state. Then we jumped to the COHN and C isotopes. It feels like reading random chapters of a book.
Nothing is random because we have, as I said, a diversity of the knowledge and diversity of people as knowledge seekers. And in this classroom, we have to teach the children, you know, you go to a village with one classroom and you have 20 children in a village. The school is one room and one teacher. Government cannot afford anymore teachers to send, because all the teachers in the past and the other villages have kicked them out. So they're in that village and they have to be done. We have one teacher and 20 students from nursery, 2.5, 3 years old, and the guy who's 18 going to university before the university. And the teacher has to know how to talk to the nursery and how to talk to the guy to be ready to go into university. And unfortunately, we have millions of listeners and we have a spectrum of knowledge to teach with all of them. But every time we teach, we cover one part that everybody is learning, but adding to the knowledge. And it's amazing how some of you, when you jump to something else, because in one part, we are making some of the scientists in the Keshe Foundation ready for that space, understanding of the gravity. In another part, we make you prepared to understand the structure of the physical matter state. Because those who are working that way, they need a nudge up. My soul is aware of the need at the time and the place and what needs to be taught. And as I said, some of you, half of you sit there as, what am I doing here today? But you hear something and maybe in 2 years' time, maybe in 2 weeks' time, say, now I understand what that teaching is about. And what it meant and what I can do with that knowledge which was shared. It's not aesthetic. It's very, very well designed and it fits into each other the way it is. And you have to understand, some of you join us in the nursery level and you are just ready to go to the second or the third class. It's the same teacher, but now we're still getting those who come through nursery. And the students sitting in there in second, third class have to listen to what we teach in nursery, but in that way they look at the new way in what they were taught in the nursery, but it's the same subject. We are well structured. I don't teach by man, I teach by the direction of the soul, and most of you have understood this better. I never carry a note. Teaching is a teaching to the soul and a dimension which is done by the process of the creation, step by step. We are messengers. We are not here teachers to teach and you have to follow. As I said to one of our knowledge seekers yesterday, the day before, is you have to be there just to share, not dictate. The teaching is very precise and it's exactly a course, and you cannot teach in one day everything. You have to bring that child from nursery to graduate. And just because today doesn't mean anything to you, it means a lot to the people who already been in that process of, as we said, the teaching, when you talk with Moshbak and he says he's trying, now you understand a lot of knowledge seekers are there. There are a lot of knowledge seekers. Some of them, they don't succeed because they haven't understood. They bring the dimension of physicality into it. I never use a single note, and the teachings are done at the level of the soul. And as many of the knowledge seekers tells you, by the voice we know if it's the messenger teaching or the man, that it fits the message. We are messengers of the Creator and we have no problem with it. We share knowledge freely because it's part of the structure for man to elevate itself. It doesn't matter what is try to stick to us. When you look, how many kings and queens and world leaders do you remember from the time of Christ? and he's still the king. Because he's the king of the souls, not dimension of physicality. And it's the same soul, doesn't matter which way you turn it, and which name and what time you give it. Any other question?
Yes, I'd like to open the floor to Anna, I believe is up next here. Anna, can you unmute your microphone and go ahead?
Yes. Hello. I'd like to ask
Can you
Mr.
let us
Keshe,
know where you are from, please?
and it's just about vivid dreams, like lucid
No,
dreams.
no. Can I ask you a question? Where are you from?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Keshe. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, and I live in New York. I'm a pediatrician.
Yes, carry on, please. Carry on.
I would like to ask you, Mr. Keshe, about, vivid dreams or lucid dreams for the average person. Like my personal experience, when you mentioned about that, our soul travels every night. It's been very real for me because I have so many lucid dreams that I have diaries of my dreams since I was a child. Like I have visited so many worlds and so many beautiful experiences that when you talk about that, me being at the nursery of this knowledge, as you just said, it resonated really about this capacity to travel and have what I have learned are vivid or lucid dreams. If you could please elaborate further, I would appreciate that.
Let me explain to, I've done this before, maybe we explain it in a different way. This is the body of the man, and this is the soul of the man. In different layers of the structure of the brain of the man, we have different things. Memory of the senses of the smell, memory of the position, memory of love, and different part of the brain has different function. This soul, when they feel the strength of the skull with the blood circulation, which is very thin but very effective, when you go to sleep, it changes. So this field can go up to here when you're awake and create a dynamic field flow, a strong containment. But there's still some of it gets through that you see as what they were doing. When you go to sleep, or what we call illusion, simple illusions, you still reduce the fields and you travel. But it's a maghrab system. You come to a position, you interact with something, and this has the same back there. As you give information, as you show emotion to this field, could be the mother, the grandmother, or whatever, it responds back. The body of the man has the capability in the brain to remember, okay, you're with two eyes, you're driving, and you're looking at the front in the physical dimension. The body is transferring the information, red light, stop, somebody got hurt, we can go, or go faster. But the other one, the soul, is still working too, and is crossing these fields, these emotion positions as well. So you are registering the physical information, and this is registering with the same cells the soul emotion. Then you call this vivid dreams, because now the soul of the cell of the brain remembers the communication at the soul level, and the what we call the dimension of physicality remembers what you see with eye. So when you call it a vivid dream, it's now we understand. It's not a dream. Man has been a what we call schizophrenic life, dimension of physicality and dimension of the soul of the man. We call it a dream. It's not a dream. Now we have to understand it. There are two dimensions. It's very much like a woman. The multitasking. Doesn't matter day or night, this entity, this soul of the man, radiates and creates different information and different impressions on different part of the bunk of the body. You got to realize something which is, I tried to explain before, maybe in a much clearer way. Every cell in your brain has a soul. And that soul has the strength to interact with the soul of the man. Because then it carries the emotion of physicality and emotion of the soul. This is something which you have, once you understand it, then the life becomes very, very simple. Your brain is a stereo system, one dimension of physicality and at the same time dimension of the soul, the source of the creation. So is it illusion or you're working on two dimensions? But up to now you didn't understand this. If you become very clever to it, you can do the same the two, but be aware of the two, multitasking. What Moshe said he's trying to do. He's aware it's there, but he's trying to push the opening of the others. Some of us, we do it naturally. As a physician, you see children are very good at it. They tell you, I've seen something, or they do something, so something is there. And it's there because they see it through the fields of their soul. And by dependent on the matter state, the older we get, the more and more and more we deceive ourselves from this field. And the typical European say, because of their ignorance, they say, I believe it when I see it. So it's not elusive. Now you have to understand you work with the dimension of both in the same structure. And when the time of the physical death comes, these informations are downloaded into the soul. So when your soul leaves, the soul of physicality or soul of the cell of the brain, all this memory downloads, passes on, and becomes part of the information of the soul for its investigation. You do the same thing, but if you look at the structure of the physicality of the man, you have your reproduction at this end. You continuously transfer, you call it by RNA or DNA, the solar RNA to your next generation. That it's not just that you carry, transfer RNA of physicality and RNA of the soul, but what do you call it, of this, what we call the information of the physical life, you download the soul continuously. The information the soul has gathered from all dimensions into your next generation. There is a reason why the physical life on this planet always has two ends. I explained this. The soul of the man and the soul of little ones we call your reproduction unit. It creates that to feed, to register, to memorize, and to create the condition of position. You call it RNA and DNA. But the same thing exists in the dimension of the soul. You have the dimension of how physicality has to be in the dimension of the soul when it manifests itself. We have a lot to learn. And you don't lucid dream. Now you understand you are working in two levels all the time. It's us to understand which one is which and how it is. I live in that dimension 90% of the time. Even when I'm asleep, to me, I'm awake. And they tell me you're asleep. I said, no, I was awake. I said, you were snoring. Yes, but that's the physical side. I'm busy doing other things. And then you have to move the physical, not to snore or move something, but in fact, you're working in dimension. 90% of the time I physically look or sleep, I'm busy. And they tell you, I don't know, because you're supposed to hear yourself, but I don't hear it because I'm too busy doing something else. It's a 24-hour work, it doesn't stop. And then when you go in the dimension of say, hey, all these have been already arranged without the soul, so I'm going to do this. And it's done. We do most of the work, as they say, behind the curtain. In the dimension of the soul. Thank you very much. Shall we call it a day? It's nearly 12:30.
Sure. Yes, we can do that, Mr. Keshe, of course.
Thank you very much for today. I hope we learned a little bit more and we shared a little bit more. Thank you very much for today, and the whole of the Keshe Foundation team in the background. And we should be able to see what we can do in the coming time, and how we can bring about the what do you call it? What will add to the addition of the knowledge? I just received a note from the Keshe Foundation management team, just to remind you that I'll read it to us. The first 3 workshops are in English, but since the teachers speak also German, they can have the workshop in both languages. So even those who do not know English but just speak German can participate. I don't think language has ever been a problem in Keshe Foundation in these workshops ever. We'll find a way to do it. Thank you very much. For example, let me explain to you when it comes to the soft artwork, the artisan is Romanian. So if you're Romanian, you can partly, if you don't speak English, the lady who teaches is fluent both in English and Romanian. And we have artists from other parts of the world which join us in these teachings and workshops. And language should not be a barrier. Thank you very much, Nick. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Once again, this has been the 432nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 12th, 2022. Now, our next public workshop coming up will be on the 17th of Tuesday, the 17th of May, which will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I don't think there's any other announcements, at least not what I can remember right now. So thank you, everyone, for attending today's workshop. And we'll see you next week at the same time and place. And we'll go out with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit musical version. So you can clap your hands and dance a little bit to let the world know that we're happy to receive the plasma knowledge. Bye for now.